Everyone, welcome to another CEO slash founder wisdom podcast. Today with us, we have Elizabeth Tischenko. She is co-founder at Nevemind. We're going to talk about AI startups, Antler, and everything in between. Elizabeth, welcome to the pod. Tell us a bit more about yourself and tell us a bit more about Nevemind.
Thanks a lot, Charles, for inviting me for this podcast. Besides being a co-founder, I'm also playing a CPO role at Nevemind. I'm also born in Ukraine, nomad, generalist by nature, currently exploring how AI can complement our skills. So how can it relieve us from mundane tasks, from boring work, and how we can focus it truly on what truly matters, right? In terms of Nevemind, let me just maybe give you a brief example. Imagine you just need to prepare a pitch deck, or you need to gather materials, aggregate from multiple places. So what we do, we just bring all the information together and just deliver it in a short and precise form. So some sort of recommendations like slide banner, and you get everything that you need at hand. So
Love it. Tell us about the recent AI summer, ChatGPT, and the influence it had on Nevemind.
Right. So actually, it started way before the ChatGPT, at least our startup. Our idea was brought from the problem that there was so many different information scattered across multiple platforms, and we figured out that the search that many applications nowadays are using is actually dumb. It doesn't work in many different situations, and therefore right now everybody uses ChatGPT because that easily enables you to discover information in a very precise format. It's exactly what people need, like answering questions, right? And Nevemind here is, let's say, tries to aggregate all the information across your local base, knowledge base, right? But ChatGPT is actually scrolling the web and scraping that. What we see in general in ChatGPT right now, you cannot allow it to use, let's say, company or private data, right? So that's why it's a kind of there is a big gap. Nevertheless, ChatGPT does quite a good job in very specific tasks, right? It can help you to create content. It helps also in many other various business, like create advertisement whatsoever, right?
That AI boom, did it help you raise funding or drag attention towards Nevemind?
Yeah, in general as well, right? There is was generative AI, and in general the boom in big language model development that definitely helped a lot, because we also doing a lot of text processing, NLP processing internally, to enable this easy data retrieval. And of course, in general, if you talk about VC funds or investors, whenever they hear talks about AI, and they could see how exactly it could be implemented in business, that's definitely increases the chances of raising investments, right? But it also depends on the VCs, right? So you have to pick the right one, because in general, what we also notice, not everybody still understands well what AI is capable of, and what are kind of potential pitfalls, right? But after ChatGPT race, definitely right now we see that majority of companies going to be implementing ChatGPT in their solution, or maybe just GPT-3 or GPT-4 is right now it's coming. It's even more powerful. It could scan your images whatsoever.
Yeah, I use command space to search for everything on my Mac plus on the web. Do you think Apple could eventually want to get in that space to develop an AI to just search across everything and give you the best suggestion?
Well, definitely it could. Apple could do it, but let's not forget that. Well, yes, they could, but they are only interested, of course, into developing it across their ecosystem, as well as Slack, as well as many other applications, right? So right now, searches will become much more popular, much more powerful, right? So it did do a great job, and even if you already explore a little bit similar applications, many companies already started using ChatGPT or similar algorithms to be able to retrieve answers, right? Like give people answers on some specific questions within this ecosystem, within the application. So it's definitely possible.
Yeah, I love it. And Google Chrome slash browsers could be thought of players in that field. Google finally caught up with Bard lately, and they shifted their most of their enterprise strategy towards that. Microsoft too. So we're seeing major traction in the field. Yesterday I was also testing out an app called Readwise, which encompasses Pocket and Scribd and Kindle and all my knowledge, and that's something that I've been looking for quite some time. I'm also using the Instagram's founder, Kev Systrom Asterix. Have you heard about that one?
Right.
For news, and it's not so impressive, right? I keep telling it to not suggest me Business Insider article, which are sensational lists and like poor quality, and it keeps referring them back to me. So where would Nevemind stand in that whole ecosystem? What could you provide a consumer like me of information, someone that wants to get their hands on precise data and niched data?
Well, all of these applications, right, they are focused on retrieving, that you at least like mentioned, retrieving information from the web. And many, like some of the customers, like potential customers we've been talking with, they were also talking about, of course, web. There is like big problem. There's like a lot of misinformation, difficult to get a grasp of what information is actually that you could trust or not. That's why we started with your knowledge base, because many people, like say companies, already aggregate a lot of knowledge internally, right? So prepare a lot of presentations, like specific sources that they trust. Experts been working on multiple articles, works. So this kind of data is being wasted. So we want to try, first of all, make sense of this data that you already aggregated and help you to easily navigate through. Because I can even imagine so many of us are saving documents or like saving some specific research papers, and then sometimes you just save it for later, right? To like take screenshots of like presentations, you save it for later and you never be able like to find them again. They're somewhere like at the bottom of the download folder and they're gone. So that's where Nevemind comes. So we are just working with more reliable sources of data that's reliable according to you. And just bring to the second point that you mentioned about the personalization part, you need to give time to algorithm to train, right? Because you told, like, not explicitly mention specific medium, right, for suggestion, and algorithms being already pre-trained. So this model, it works like specific way, and if you would like to see different outputs, it just requires time to adapt to you as a customer. But in general, personalization within applications is like another big boom. So now majority of consumer-based apps are going to try to adapt the way you search. I mean, it already does, right? If you go like some specific websites, it remembers, like, what kind of topics you're interested in, but it is going to be even further developed.
Yeah, I love it. And we've seen various developments, for example, and LinkedIn is starting to deploy AI with premium, with like rebuilding your profile, building posts and so forth. Microsoft Teams, I use it too. And it would just be nice to have a Charles bot, to scrape all of my message that I've ever sent there and respond in my absence to my teammates. Maybe tell it like what's my type of personality, what do I value. But again, they could scrape my LinkedIn post and see that. The problem is just that, sometimes your personality varies across channels. For example, I'm more controversial on Twitter than I am on LinkedIn, for example. Evernote, we've seen that, the business not doing so good, but Notion, I think, has been the most impressive when it comes to knowledge bases. And I can see that they're being like the number one player in that field. What comments do you have on their growth and the directions that they've been taken, and how are you incorporating that in Nevemind?
Right, like Notion in general, like, has quite impressive history, like considering where actually they started with like applications didn't have majority of all those feature set that right now it does. So interesting part about Notion that it was kind of led by community. So they did a great job by aggregating people around the product, and they helped sort of them to shape it, right? They kind of told them what exactly they expect. Nevertheless, like I also know there is a group of people, for example, they cannot use like Notion in some specific areas, and like where the Nevemind also comes here. Again, Notion is like a single app that solves a lot of problems, but it still doesn't go across, for example, like problems for the designers or like some leadership roles. So we are aggregating also different information across different tools. So definitely Notion is one of the knowledge base that we are planning to connect with, so that you can also like through Nevermind pull all the insights and store knowledge from Notion, but as well Slack, Gmail, and other ecosystem like Microsoft ecosystem, and many other channels.
I'm curious if aggregation is part of most business models, because let's take Notion. The theory would be that they want to keep you under their platform and they do not cooperate with other players. They try to compete more and limit access to the others. Do you think that cooperation and aggregation should be at the basis of all business model? Granted that Zapier is going to connect them anyway, going to integrate them with other platforms. And other small comment on that one. For example, Readwise, they integrate Pocket. I don't think they gave Pocket a choice. Both could be competing against one another. And Pocket itself is supposed to be an aggregator, right? I mean, you click on the Chrome extension, it saves the article. So theoretically, you can save anything. So do you think aggregation is part of most business models, or is it competition and aggregation? Or do you see most just plain competition and cutting out every integration?
Well, I would add it all depends on the business goal of a specific company. But what we notice, there are like there is a companies that uses Notion as a major source where they lead all the documentation and knowledge, right? They store the knowledge. But there are also a lot of companies that they are being pressured of using multiple tools, right? So if you stick only with just a single ecosystem, let's say your company who just uses Microsoft, and you're like good with them, right? Because they offer you Teams, SharePoint, and many other different tools. But then when you have clients that, for example, are using Slack, right? Another client uses WhatsApp, and then you basically started growing, and to fill all the needs, you have to go beyond this ecosystem. So this is where the kind of problems comes in, right? So some companies are satisfied, for example, using just Notion. Some companies satisfy using some other tools, but there are a lot of those that would like, to have everything is being aggregated, right? But in this case, like basically, if you say Notion are going to interconnect with different apps, they do it actually, but only to a certain extent. Like Slack is now integratable, and you can get like notification on Slack from many other tools that you are using, right? So it's a kind of everything here goes like into complementary play. But if you say that they're going to interconnect and integrate, I would like actually to see how it's going to happen in terms of competition, because they're going to cross some of the functionalities, similar functionalities that they're having within their products.
So I think aggregators are one of the most exciting business because they solve the complexity problem. The thing is, most startups, they compete more than they cooperate. I think that's the reality, meaning that they straight up, there's like 50 to 100 competitors in one niche. They'll do the same frigging thing, they just won't tell you because it's not in their advantage. And aggregators are like, yeah, dude, that's not okay. That's not super ethical. I think you should just be cooperating a bit more and being more complementary to the customer rather than doing the same thing and confusing them with different terms. So I think they're the future. One last question for the pricing model. And I thought, we need more innovation in the pricing models. I think I would, if I would be Nevemind, I'd try eventually to charge a small percentage of like what the software actually costs per month or something like that, something innovative. But what do you think about the pricing? How will you sell that thing to customers? Will it be a monthly subscription? How will that work?
So we're definitely planning to introduce free tiers so that everybody could use and test by themselves to make sure that it's working for them. Our major metrics in Nevemind is going to be amount of save time by using Nevemind. We see like all the alternative searches across other tools, right? So we are planning to do a proper measurement. So we are close to launch our MVP very soon, like our closed beta, and we are planning to do a proper measurement. So comparing how much time you're saving, you can easily calculate the value, right? So if let's say like this is your hourly cost, right? And you could see that, for example, within one day you manage to say up to 1 hour or like up to like specific amount of minutes using Nevermind versus other tools, you could more or less estimate like the real cost, like the real value. But so we are planning to be like just a regular subscription model. So we are just still trying to figure out the best monthly pricing that everybody will be willing to pay. But and for companies, of course, like they're going to be also a specific tier so that like the entire organization can also implement Nevermind within the company.
All right, then where can people find out more about you and Nevermind?
Well, they could just directly message me on LinkedIn at Elizabeth Tischenko, or go to nevemind.com without R, because that's the tricky part. Many people just like write it as a Nevermind, but unfortunately we have like a kind of misspelling within the name.
All right.
So
Perfect. Well, thank you so much.